everyone. Thank you for tuning in today for our next episode of the series from Indian Matchmaking on Netflix. Thank you so much for giving us so much love for our last episode. And today we have the lovely Manisha joining us. I'm going to just get her on the screen now for you.
Hi.
Hi, Manisha. How are you?
I'm great. How are you, Srishti?
Good, thank you. Bright and early. Good morning to you. It's 9 o'clock for us, so I think half of the audience would be tucked into their beds. So thank you so much for joining it right so early.
Yeah.
How's everything for you?
Going well. Yeah. How are you?
Good. So I think my biggest question, let's kick in right there and we just go, tell us Indian matchmaking. How did that come about? How did you get on the show? How did you hear about it? How did you get the opportunity to go on to the show?
Yeah. I'll just share. It's funny. My cousin saw it on an Instagram post, and I was single at the time, and he really just wanted me to meet somebody. And he said, we've tried pretty much everything. We've never tried a matchmaker. Let's do this. My sister, my cousin, and I created a bio data that night. We emailed it to the producers because they were the ones doing sort of all the vetting before SEMA got involved. And
right.
Yeah, the rest, it suddenly things just started happening. Probably I would say at the speed of light. It all happened about 2 years ago, so it feels like another lifetime.
Oh, wow.
After this year.
So you guys shot the whole series ages ago, or was that the process started that time about that
the
time?
process for me started in September 2018.
Okay.
Yeah, so I literally was I think it was, I emailed them my bio data September 2018, and then April 2019 was when Vyasar and I actually filmed. So
wow.
It's been over a year. We filmed April in Austin, and then the continuation kind of went on till about May, June, when we were both filming. Those moments that you saw where it almost looked like we were talking to each other. That was actually me filming my sort of monologue and him filming his monologue. And then we had, several video calls as well that you guys saw some of too.
Oh, wow. And I assume it would be so hard to actually shoot everything and then just patiently wait for the episode to release. You can't even say anything. You can't say anything about it.
Yeah, you can't say anything about it. We had to sign all these, really legal documents that basically said you can't, you have to stay quiet. You can't post anything. You can't talk about it. Your immediate family obviously knows because, my mom was with me, so she shot with me. My brother knew, my sister knew. Yeah. My cousin obviously knew. But that was pretty much all the people that I had told. And so when it came out, a lot of my friends were like, how did you do a Netflix show and not even tell us? And I personally, I have really good secrets, but when it comes to myself, I can't keep things inside. I'm always the first person to tell people things or share. And it was a really neat experience and something super unique. So when it came out, my friends and, extended members of my family were like, how did you keep this a secret this long? There's no way that, we couldn't have known this. So yeah, it was definitely a lot of patience required.
And do you think your life has changed since you've been on the show?
Yeah.
The reactions of people around
talking to an audience in Australia. That didn't happen pre-Indian matchmaking.
Of course. And do you actually get when you're walking on the streets, do people just kind of stop you sometimes and go, hey, you are an Indian Netflix?
It's funny because this happened now since the show launched. It's happened to me 3 different times now, and all 3 times it's still been very surreal because I still see myself as a pretty regular person who lives an extremely common life. I don't see myself. Somebody called me a celebrity the other day, and I was like, I'm not a celebrity. I'm just a normal human being. I don't see myself that way. So yeah, it's definitely a little bit surreal. It actually happened I'm in New York right now visiting my sister. And I was sitting in the car waiting for her. So I wasn't, typically wherever we go, we're wearing masks, but I wasn't wearing a mask this particular moment because I was in my car. And this girl walked by, and then she came back to the window and walked again. And then she came back a second time. And I was actually more intrigued by her dog. I love dogs, as you saw in the show. And I was talking to her about her dog. And then she kept saying to me, she was like, I know you from somewhere. I've seen you somewhere. And
like, yeah, you'll remember it when I'm gone.
Well, as she finally, pinned it. She was like, "You're on Indian Matchmaking. You dated Vyasar." She recognized me right away, and
that's amazing.
the picture. It was really sweet. It was, but again, just super surreal because that's the kind of things that I do with celebrities. Like I've done that with Bollywood stars. I've done that with Hollywood stars. And it's just really weird that somebody's asking me for a photo.
So you're just kind of feeling the limelight, and you're just like, it's not that bad. I could do this.
Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about, the show basically started with Seema auntie kind of laying out the criteria about the kind of the girl she was looking for Vyasar. Let's have a look at a little bit of that snippet and then come back and talk about it.
Yeah, let's do it.
I think a girl who understands sense of humor, who is lively, who is a little talkative, who has high aims, that way of the girl will suit him. I just have to work hard to find someone who just accept him as he is.
Okay, so you obviously did not know that this is what Seema auntie was looking for in the potential match for Vyasar. Now that you would have seen this after the show aired, I'm assuming. Did you feel the criteria that they mentioned was the kind of girl you were, or were you just like, that's not me?
Yeah, no, I think I'm lively. I'm extremely talkative. I always have something to say or to have a conversation. I do think on the surface, if you were to just look at who we are as individuals, we would probably match. Like I don't know the science behind matchmaking. I'm not a matchmaker by any means, but I think, when you look at two people, pretty much surface level, you would say, like they're both into their families, they both really love to laugh. Like if there's anything, I took away from my date with Vyasar in Austin, which was like a 10 or 11 hour date, like total combined.
10 or 11 hour date.
Yeah,
we would have thought that would have been like maximum half an hour.
I know. We started shooting at we started filming at I think 8 or 9 in the morning and didn't end till almost 10:30 at night or 11 o'clock at night. It went on
for a whole day.
Yeah. So it was an extremely full day. Yeah. So if you were to, the one thing I took away from that was my mom asked me, because my mom was in Austin. She didn't stay with us the whole time, but she asked me when I got back to the hotel, she was like, "What did you think?" I was like, "He made me laugh so much." And I still stand by that. He's probably one of the funniest people I've ever met. And I think, on the surface level, again, we probably matched. But as we both dug deeper and had, I would say, pretty fundamental conversations that you need to sustain. Again, this isn't just dating, right? When you're matchmaking or when you're being introduced to somebody through a matchmaker, it kind of changes the stakes.
Phases.
Yeah, you're almost like, okay, I'm in this for a real reason. I want to get married. He wanted to get married. So we asked each other, I think, really significant questions that probably we wouldn't have talked about, had it just been a normal date. And so when those things came up, that's when I think the difference is. So, you asked if I saw myself as the type of girl that Seema described. Definitely, 100%. But I think when it came to learning more about each other, that's when we realized
the finer details.
Exactly.
Yeah. So we did see that Vyasar did mention the kind of person he was looking for, but we never got to see if you had the opportunity to put a criteria of what kind of person you were looking for. So did you ever get a chance to kind of lay those kind of criteria out, or were you just like, nah, we're going to find a man for you and we will tell you the kind of person?
No, yeah, definitely. I met Seema the night before we filmed in Austin. We met at a coffee shop in Austin. We talked about what I'm looking for. That was really when Vyasar's bio data was shared with me. That was the first time I saw it. So I flew to Austin completely blind, not knowing.
Oh, wow. Okay.
about Yasser. So yeah, when I got to Austin, we met later that evening. She shared his bio data. She asked me what I'm looking for in a partner. She asked me a lot of questions. So I definitely got the opportunity to share what I was looking for.
Oh, that's good. So I also want to talk about the little pep talk that you had from your mom before you actually visited Yasser's house. So let's have a look at that conversation. We'll come back and chat more about it.
Yeah.
Could you sleep last night well?
Yeah, I slept.
Since you found out about the boy and everything you read about it, do you have like any concern or anything that you want to talk to me about?
He seems really friendly, and I think we'll probably have a lot to talk about.
I'm nervous.
Good nervous or bad nervous?
It's mixed. The whole family is going to be there.
I mean, I've never been on a date where I have to meet his whole family.
I've been waiting for such a long time. So let's go and nail it.
Nail it.
It just sounded like your mom was more nervous than you were.
She was.
So,
like every Indian mom.
Yeah, and that's what I wanted to ask. Like, your mom seemed pretty chill about it. She's just like, look, I have high expectations. Everything better go to plan. Like, did you have some sort of pressure that you had to make this work more so for the sake of your parents, or or
No.
what were you thinking about at that time?
Yeah, not at all. I'll say one thing. I mean, my mom is, your typical Indian mom where she worries about her kids, and the first question she asks is, have you eaten? Have you slept like you saw? So she's, she expresses concern in that way. But the one thing my parents have never, ever done is put pressure on me for anything, but especially for something serious like marriage.
Yeah,
I think they realize the implications of that. And I think they realize, like, if we were to put so much pressure on her, like, how wrong things could potentially go. And so that was the one thing I'll say, even from like the producers, they would, like, even from SEMA, like, it was like, this is a match, but it does not have to be. Like, you do not, this is ultimately your life. So we don't want to put any pressure on. And that was constantly reiterated throughout the whole process. Because after Austin, Vyasar and I would talk on the phone, and the producers would check in with us, and they would say, hey, how are things going? We want to make sure, that you guys are doing okay. Do you have any questions for us? Again, no pressure. Don't feel like you need to make this work. Don't feel like you have to have these, like, there's no reason that you need to continue dating him if you don't see a future. And that was Yasser as well. Yeah. So, I mean, no pressure from really anybody, maybe ourselves, just to, like, okay, this is going on television. So, like, maybe we want to, make this work because the entire world will be watching. But yeah, nothing like that from our families, from my family.
I think I feel like my mom stresses out herself, and then she stresses me out. So majority of the times when I'm trying to do something, I'll be just like, Ma, I'll be okay. Just leave me alone. I'll be okay, But the fact that your mom was there the whole time, and she was actually like giving you that pep talk, that I found was like really sweet.
Yeah.
And your biodata does mention that you're half Bengali. Is that right?
Yeah. So my dad's Bengali and my mom's Punjabi.
Yeah. So how did they meet? Like, was that a love marriage? Was that an arranged marriage?
Yeah. That was they were neighbors, and they fell in love on their terraces in Delhi, actually. So,
right there.
No, and that's the story. So, like, exactly like you said, people see that in movies. That's the story I grew up with. They defied their families. They went against them. I mean, ultimately, everybody came on board. But yeah, they fell in love, and so that's the other reason why I think my parents understand, maybe somewhat more so than your average, South Asian mom or dad, that it's okay. Like, if you're not, you should marry the right person. You shouldn't just marry somebody for the sake of getting married.
And I think that's what I wanted to ask is especially them going for a love marriage and no pressures and just going with what they were comfortable with.
Yeah.
When you said you were going on the show and it was more of a matchmaking kind of thing, like what was their reaction? Like, how did they go about it?
Yeah, because they did fall in love and didn't go through this experience of a matchmaker or getting arranged or anything like that. It was something nuanced to them, and they definitely had a lot of questions. But ultimately, I think they realized, like, okay, this is something that she wants to do. We're going to support her 100%. My parents, I would say, are my biggest cheerleaders. Like, they really care. In every aspect of my life, I feel like if I go to them and tell them, hey, I'm going to do X, Y, and Z, they're like 100% on board. They'll ask me questions to make sure I'm doing it
Which
for
is
the right
fair enough.
reasons, or just to make sure that, like, I understand what happens after this. But yeah, they're just the biggest supporters I have in my life.
I think that's the most important thing at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So when you went to Vyasa's house, like, obviously, I think your major panic point was having to see the family. Did you expect that size of the family waiting to see you?
No, I didn't, honestly. They told me that his whole family was going to be there, but I was like, okay, like, like parents, brother,
Siblings.
maybe. Yeah, that's it. Brother,
Yeah.
sister, but like, I did not expect grandparents. I didn't expect uncle, aunt. I didn't expect, but I mean, it was like, I walked in and exactly like you said, I think I'm the type of person too that you see everything on my face. Like, I don't hide. I don't have a poker face.
And that's why I asked that. I'm like, what were you thinking? Tell us.
Yeah, I think I was just like, okay, this is happening. Like, this is, and
like,
then
how many hellos do I have to say right now?
Exactly. Not only are the families but you have like all these camera people in tow, right? So like, they're like, okay, ring the doorbell and you're gonna walk in and we're gonna be filming on the other side of the door. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this is like, I knew that was gonna happen. Obviously, like, I was prepared for that. But then, like, that moment right before, it's like, okay, this is it. Like, we're about to do this thing. So.
And during the conversation, something really awkward happened. I'm going to play that video and we're going to talk about that.
Okay, great.
And your whole family is in North Carolina, right?
My mom, dad, and the most important family member, my dog, Jogi.
Your dog's name is Jogi?
Jogi.
It's his name, too.
Jogi has a very special place in my heart.
He's a special place in our hearts, too.
Yeah. And then my older sister lives in New York City.
Awesome.
Yeah.
You know what doesn't help? The music in the background. I don't know about you, but when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, you did not have to say that. What were you thinking at that time?
I don't know that I had like a specific thought, but I was like, what do I say to this? Like,
that was awkward.
Afterwards, it's like, okay, I named my dog and my dog.
Should I be saying sorry?
My dog, he's since then has passed away. He actually passed away this past June.
Oh.
Yeah, so it's so funny because like he was integrated. I had him for 15 years, and he really was, I think, the most important family member for us. I always joke that it was Jogi's house and we just lived in it. Because like but he was named after, funny enough, like, the Bollywood song Ramta Jogi, which is like, I don't know, peak 90s. Yeah. That's where I got his name from. Like, that's why he was named Jogi. And so it was really odd to hear that, like, name for a human, because for me, like, it was always my dog. Yeah, like, there we are in his living room.
I think they were sitting there going, that's a really awkward name for a dog. And there's like, that's a really awkward name for a human being.
Probably, yeah. And it was, again, it was something very unexpected. A lot of people ask, like, they're like, oh, was this show scripted? And I'm like, do you think, like, how would you script that? If I was a script writer, I'm not a script writer, but if I was, like, I would not script in, like, there's no way to script that. That's something, like, totally off. So yeah, it was definitely awkward.
That is hilarious. Of the show. I was actually going to ask, so you did mention about the Ramta Jogi part in it, and I was actually going to ask you that I know that you do speak Bengali. We are speaking in English, so I'm sure that's a given. What other languages do you speak?
So I speak Hindi, of course. I'm a huge Bollywood fan. And then I also speak some Punjabi because my mom's Punjabi. And I also speak Spanish. So I was born in Miami, and you have to take Spanish there as a mandatory class, just like math, science, everything else. So I actually speak Spanish fluently as well.
Oh, that's great. So if I were to speak in Hindi with you, you would actually be just like, yeah, bring it on.
Yeah, let's do it. You want to do it now?
You're just like, yeah, tell me what's your favorite song? Apart from Ramta Jogi, I think you've already answered that.
Yeah, no, I love all Hindi music. These days I've been listening to the soundtrack of Sadak 2 with Alia Bhatt.
Yeah.
And I get like this repeat one obsession. So I've been listening to that song Tum Se Hi by Alia, but don't ask me to sing. I have a horrible voice.
Oh, damn it. You're such a spoiled sport. I was just going to say that. No, I was not going to put you on the spot. No, I wouldn't have done that. So there is another thing that I want to talk about, which is, I think that's very important, which is your obsession with vacuuming. I'm actually going to play that little snippet so our audience can see what we're talking about. We're going to come back and have a chat about it.
Okay.
I'm like a big cleaner. I love to clean. I love to vacuuming is actually like if I'm in a crappy mood or even in a good mood or just stressed out, if I vacuum, I suddenly feel like I'm She-Ra. Like I can do anything.
It feels good, right?
I don't even think I need to ask the question. I think you know what I'm going to ask.
Vacuuming every time. Like it still blows my mind.
So is that something? When did you discover that vacuuming was your way to vent out or let out the build-up emotions that you have in your head? Is that since childhood, or you just recently discovered this?
No, I mean probably like when I started living independently and like realizing like, okay, doing more housework. Although, I always helped around the house as a kid too. But yeah, I think I love the fact that like you can take a big mess and vacuum and suddenly like it's clean, right? So like there's just like magic moment. Exactly. Magic moment that happens. Yeah, so I would probably say like in the last, 10 years or so. And then like, vacuums this is horrible. I can't believe I'm doing this.
Why not? This is the time we talk about
own it, right? This is me. Vacuums, I think, also have like come a long way since like, I'm a kid of the 90s, 80s, 90s. And so when we would vacuum before, it was a standard, like just plug in and, like upright vacuum and that was it. And now there's so many different cool kind of vacuums. There's ones that are wireless. There's ones that you can just kind of, so I think it's like, I don't know. I'm a nerd. I love vacuuming. Yes.
Okay. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. Everyone's got their own way of dealing with things. And if this is your thing, well, so be it. There's nothing wrong. I also want to talk about, so we were actually looking at your conversations that you and Vyasa used to have mostly on, video calls and everything, which was super cute, by the way. After that whole thing happened, there was a moment where Vyasa had quite radiant things to say about you. I'm just going to play that for the audience and we'll come back and chat about it.
Manisha is around 5'2" with black hair and hazel eyes. I think they were hazel. Are they brown or hazel? I felt like, looking at her was really like, I felt like I was looking at the sun sometimes. Not in the sense that the sun is hard to look at, but like, she's radiant. She really is radiant.
So that was a pretty impressive feedback on someone's personality. You obviously did not see this when it was. So this came in as a surprise for you when you saw the show. What were you thinking at that time? Were you just like, oh, or were you just like,
yeah? So that's the first time I saw him. He actually, so it's funny because like after the date was over in Austin, he offered to drive me back to our hotel. and he said something. I don't remember the exact words, if he used the word radiant or not, but he, again, just, he was super sweet and was like, he complimented my, something about my smile as well that night. And so I knew how he felt. That wasn't a secret at all. But yeah, I didn't hear him call me radiant until the show actually aired. And I watched it pretty much the same time as all of you did. Like we didn't get a preview or anything like that. It was just like all of us watched it on whatever it was, July 16th, I think. And so yeah, I think.
So it wasn't like when he was saying all that stuff, it wasn't always in front of the camera. It was away from the cameras as well. Or did you feel like it maybe, he was saying that because there were cameras there and then you saw?
No, yeah. I mean, I heard it before too. Like I said, like he had definitely complimented me before. He complimented my smile that night, the night that he drove me back as we were in the car. He said something about my smile being, something that he'd never seen before, something like that. I can't remember the exact words, but it was very sweet. It was very, and even every time we spoke, he always was extremely kind. And yeah, I think hearing it though, and hearing it described that way, obviously it's nice to hear somebody compliment you. It's not a bad thing. It's just, again, I'm not like, it's hard for me to talk about. I don't see myself that way, but I'm glad that, I'm glad that, I guess it's like the whole imposter syndrome.
Yeah. I think I might know what your actual reaction was when you heard that. I've actually got a clip for that. We'll play that and we'll come back.
I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now. I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now. I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now.
I could not stop watching that. That was hilarious. I'm like, you know what? This is what I'm going to tell her. All her reactions. So if she's sad, if she's upset, if she's happy, or whatever, this is her reaction, because the vacuum is what she can relate to.
Yeah, I think we should do it after the show.
I think so. When you guys had when you were sitting together, you and Vyasa were talking, there was a kind of a little hump in the conversation where you spoke about moving in between North Carolina and Texas, and how were you gonna? You asked that question, like how were you gonna deal with that? And all we heard as audience was, I definitely want to see you again. I don't know if that was the end of that conversation, or did you guys have more conversation after that, which probably wasn't shown on the show?
I feel like that was where I joked because, again, this is my first time on television, filming, a television show. And so I kept, the producers, like, I was like, okay, at the end, we have to say that's a wrap, right? Because that's what I've seen on television. That's what I've seen, in movies. And so I feel like when Vyasar said, I want to see you again, the producers yelled, that's a wrap. And like, that was it. I mean, we definitely had conversations, obviously, afterwards. He drove me home or to the hotel. So, we talked afterwards, but yeah, that was the last thing that we filmed. Like, we were sitting there eating our ice cream on that bench, closed down a street in Austin, no big deal, right? Just a regular person.
Regular celebrities that you will see walking on the streets after the episodes air.
Yeah.
No, that's great. And there is the burning question now, which is, did she really break his heart? So let's have a look at what Seema Auntie had to say as her feedback, and we'll come back and have a chat about that.
Yeah.
Couldn't work because I think Manisha found his earnings and all were not okay for her. But you have to see his heart also. He's such a nice person, he'll keep you happy. And I feel very strongly the girl should be open-minded and love him for who he is.
Okay, how much do you agree or disagree with what Simanati had to say? Because I actually feel that, and I don't know, it might not be true, but I think what we saw on the show wasn't all that happened.
Yeah.
Like, we saw snippets of your conversations.
Exactly.
Sometimes it came across like there were things that the producers or the show wanted to portray in a way, or I don't know, but that's what I felt, and I thought this is a good platform to ask you that question. Is that all it was that we saw, or there was more conversations? And why did you guys really break up or did not go ahead with the match?
Yeah. So let me try to answer all your questions. If I miss something, just
sorry. I rambled too much. But I'm happy to repeat it.
What's the order that I want to go in? So did I agree with what Seema said? No, because I don't think it was just the earnings for me, or even the earnings at all. I don't even know what Vyasar makes. Like, to this day, I still don't know what his salary is. We had conversations both on air, what you saw, and off air, right? Like, when you're dating somebody, anybody, you it's not always like what you, there's not always like what, especially on television, like it's not always what you see, right? Like you said, the producers had their narrative, they had their story, and all of us, I mean, you asked me at the beginning of this show, how many languages do you speak? How did your parents meet? None of that was shown on the television show. None of that was shown on Matchmaking, right? So there's so much more to me, to all of us really, that you don't see. I was on the show for maybe a total of 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And obviously, like, there's so much more to me than those 40 minutes, right? So that's what I would say want to start with. The second thing is, with Vyasar specifically, we both came to the conclusion, it was a very amicable decision, that we had some pretty irreconcilable differences, right? There were differences in how we wanted to raise children. There were differences in how we viewed money, not necessarily our salaries or anything like that, but just differences on how, like, versus how he views money. And I think those, Srishti, when it comes down to it, when you're, again, talking about a marriage and talking about sustaining something long-term, which is, I don't think it would have been fair to either one of us to say, let's just continue this for the sake of the show, or let's continue this for the sake of Seema, because we wouldn't be doing justice to anybody really, especially ourselves and our families. And with Indian culture specifically, I feel like it's not just a union between like the girl and the guy, or the guy and the guy, or whatever. It's not a union between two people. It's a union between two families. And like, I didn't want to do that to my family. I had met his family now, right? So there was this whole new, added concept. And so I constantly thought about that. Like, every conversation we had, it was very different than guys that I had previously dated. It was very different than guys, because otherwise I feel like, yeah, okay, fine, like, we'll deal with that. Dekha jayega, baad mein, we don't have to deal with it right now. But with Vyasar, it was like, no, we do have to talk about these things right now, because this is something that involves like me, you, your family, my family, this production company, Seema, like, there are all these extra players involved that I think cautioned me specifically to sort of think about things very differently than I have in the past. So,
because when we see the show, it looks like he was saying that she doesn't even want to talk to me and everything, and then suddenly you called and you basically dumped him. Like, that's how it was portrayed on the show, and I'm like, I don't think someone would do that on the show, especially when so many people are watching it. So it's probably good to ask you. So that did that, how that call go, or was that snippets of that call as well?
That call was a total of almost an hour.
Okay. Yeah, so, that's not what we saw.
I think there was maybe 15 seconds, 20 seconds of that call shown, right? Or maybe it was a little long. Maybe it was a minute. I don't know. Yeah. But that call was definitely an hour. I remember because I saved it on my computer, because we were, just like this, and I had offered that day to save it and email it out to the group. It was on a Skype call and we recorded it. So it was close to an hour, and they showed a part of it. So again, just
what they've shown is Vyasar not even talking, and he was just like painting his little thing. It was more like you saying, it's not going to work, and whatever. And like, I was just thinking, did he not just say anything at all? Was he
Yeah.
like sitting like that the whole time?
Yeah. He definitely spoke. But yeah, I can see again, like the show had their own narrative, right? And that's their right? Everybody has sort of their own opinions and their narrative. And I feel like they wanted to show the story how they wanted to show the story, right? So
Yeah.
he definitely spoke. And again, like I said, it was more of an amicable decision more than anything else. Like we both came to that conclusion together. And actually we came to that conclusion before the call. Like we realized, okay, you know what? This isn't working. We're pretty different. Again, on the surface, we probably, Seema probably thought like, okay, this could work.
Yeah.
But then we realized how different we were and what was at stake, for us. That's the point where I think both of us kind of came to this conclusion, like, I don't think this is going to work. And I remember a specific conversation with Vyasar where I said, the theme of the show is, did she really break his heart? I remember to him, I said, I'm not used to dating guys like you that are so kind and so nice. I have a little bit of a bad boy, I go for these guys. They're just all wrong, yeah,
I hear you.
Pattern, you'd be like, oh my God, what's wrong with this girl? But, I think, and that's what I told him. I said, I feel really weird ending things because you're such a nice person. Like, and he said, it would be worse of you to continue seeing me just because you're nice. And I say something on the show, like, it doesn't sustain, right? Like just being nice in a relationship is great. It's important.
But that's not you all the time.
Yeah, but it's not something that can sustain us long term, which is again exactly what we were looking for. Everybody that went on Indian Matchmaking, we all wanted a long term thing. Like none of us wanted to do this as a fling. None of us wanted to do it to just, it was all something, all of us wanted to get married ultimately. So
yeah, it was, I think the intention was to find someone
exactly
if you could. But yeah, if it works or doesn't work, that wasn't something that you were going to push on. No, that's fair enough. Okay. Apart from the show, I was reading about what you are doing recently, and I saw that you have decided to go into politics. Is that the right word to say? How about it?
Kind of. So I actually work as a public health researcher. I work as a project manager for a global company in North Carolina, and I do public health research for kids with special needs. So that's like my full-time job. About 2 weeks ago, I was approached to be the state co-director for the Biden-Harris campaign in North Carolina. So not necessarily going into politics, but politics is something that I'm very passionate about. Maybe someday in the future, I don't know. I think this is something that, especially right now, I mean, the elections are really, really, really important in the U.S. There's a lot riding on these elections.
Let's not even go there.
No, I don't want to start my Friday morning that way.
No.
I don't want to start Friday night that way, but there's just a lot right now. And so I've recognized how, to me, I mean, I actually got involved in the 2016 election. I volunteered just as a volunteer for the Hillary campaign. So I went and knocked on doors and, encouraged people to come vote. And obviously because of COVID and what's happening in the US right now, and all over the world, really, elections aren't what, they normally are. We're not knocking on doors. Everything's being done virtually. We're getting people to register to vote and maybe even vote virtually, like by mailing in their ballots or taking them in on voting days, So it's definitely requiring a lot of education. And this is South Asians for Biden-Harris. So like, it's something, again, that's very passionate, that I'm very passionate about, that's very close to my heart because my parents, came to this country in the 70s, and this is what became our home. And as much criticism as America is facing right now, I know that America can be better. I see that hope, and I'm glad to be even just a small part of it as the co-director for the Biden-Harris campaign for South Asians for Biden-Harris.
No, that's great. You know, any opportunity where you can make a difference, why not?
Yeah.
So are you in touch with all the rest of the people from the show? All of them, some of them?
I think almost everyone. I actually hung out with Vinay last Friday night because I'm in New York right now. Yeah. So we went out. He took me to a really cool comedy show with some of his friends. So we all hung out. That was really nice.
So what do you guys talk about? Like not just when you catch up with one-on-one, but when you are catching up with as a group or when you're catching up one-on-one, like what do you guys talk about? Like, is there any gossip for us? Like, do we need to know anything?
Aside from the fact that all of us are single still, I think that's the biggest thing
no, I was actually that's what I was gonna ask. I'm like, tell us someone's dating someone.
Yeah,
like there's something happening. Please
it's
tell
so
us.
funny because like we all went on this matchmaking show, right? We all went on this journey together to find love, and here we all are single. And I think that to me speaks volumes, right? Like, love is complicated.
Yeah.
Dating is complicated. Marriage is even more complicated. Like I think, and that's universal truths, right? Like there were people filmed in India, like Akshay, Pradyuman, Ankita. I think all of us, well, I should take that back actually. So I misspoke. I think everyone but Rupam is single. So Rupam actually is engaged, I believe. But everybody.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I mean, so maybe that's some tea that I can give you.
Do you know, is that the same guy that you found from Bumble?
Yeah, that's she got engaged to the guy she found on Bumble. So I think all of us downloaded Bumble.
Wow.
That
was amazing. Like Rupam's gonna be the role model.
Yeah, we have something to learn from Rupam. So yeah, but yeah, I think we talk about just normal life and like what we're going through. A lot of us, I mean, I think all of us actually never had like press, requests before. We never did things like this. So a lot of us have been just sharing like that with each other. I think we all root for each other. So like, I know like Pradyuman was featured on Humans of Bombay, that Instagram page.
I saw that. Yes.
And, like we all, like, I feel like everyone from the cast commented and shared and like really just appreciated that. Aparna's been doing some really great things and we're all like, supporting her the best way we can. Yeah. So I feel like, yeah, we've all become, because we've done something so nuanced and unique with each other. Like, how many friends have you had where you can be like, yeah, I went on a TV show with them,
Yeah.
We all talk.
Pretty much did a blind date.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I was maybe going to marry them, but it didn't happen.
It's nice to have this Indian matchmaking. I would call us more of a family. It's nice to have.
Yeah.
It's nice to have each other, be there. Like, I know I've gone to like Vinay for advice before. I've gone to Vyasar for advice. I've asked him things, and vice versa. Like we all talk to each other and rely on each other, because this is something that I would say, like, yeah, I have other friends and I have family that I can go to and talk to about this, but it's not the same because like we've all gone through this together.
No, that's great. And I could actually, on the back of it, ask a very tough question. I don't know how ready you are for the tough question. But I was just thinking, like, now that you know what personality everyone is, what kind of a person they are, would you have had, if you were given a choice, would you have picked someone to actually go on a date with and see if things worked out? That's a tough question.
I would have dated all of them.
Oh my god!
I would have dated.
That was so diplomatic.
I would have dated. No, seriously. I would have dated Shekhar. I would have dated Vinay. I would have dated Guru. I would have dated Dilip. I think the biggest thing, and I would have dated Pradyuman. I would have dated Akshay. For me, like, it's again learning. I learned so much about myself through the process. So. If dating them means unfolding another layer of myself to me, like I would have done it. I would have dated all of them. They're all such great people. So
I was actually going to ask you to actually rate all the boys.
Oh my gosh.
In the order of your preference. No, I'm just kidding. I wouldn't have put you on the spot that way.
All night long.
No, I don't want to spoil your friendships, so that's all good. No, I think that's all my questions. That was amazing. I had a lot of fun. Thank you so much for being so open and so what's the word? I think true to your emotions. Like you were actually like not holding back. Apart from one diplomatic answer, you've actually been very true with the rest of them. Thank you so much for joining. I think there is a question. I might just bring that up. Good eye, mate. All right, fine. So we have got a question. I think you could see that on your screen. Do you regret not ending up with Vyasa? Is he, I'm assuming, as jolly in real as he was shown on the show?
I don't regret it, no. To answer the first question, I have said this on several interviews, so I'll just go on the record saying this again. Vyasa is a really great person. He's just not my person. So no regret. Yeah. And is he as jolly? Yes. He's probably even more jolly than what you saw on the show.
What we saw. Did V dump M or M dump V? I think we've answered that, guys. That was
Go back to the beginning of the show and you'll get the
answer. Like I think you joined late. No, I think that's all that I have. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is so much fun. I'm so excited, and hopefully, when the world opens up, we can meet in person. And I definitely am long overdue for a trip to Melbourne. My family lives in Melbourne. I just want to give them a quick shout out to, and let them know I love them, and I hopefully will come visit soon.
I hope you guys have heard that. Thank you so much, Manisha. And I think I know how I'm going to end this show. So I'm just going to play a clip and we're going to go from there. See ya. Nice talking to you.
Bye, Srishti. Take care.
I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now. I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now. I'm really excited about my vacuum cleaner. I kind of want to vacuum now.